Oh, guys, apologize. I went to the wrong section. No wonder. Anyway. อ่ะ thank you for letting me know นะคะถึงว่าไม่มีใครเข้าวะโอเคค่ะ อ่ะ one more time นะคะ if you have no intention to settle down and earn living at the new destination you are just being part of human movement not migration for human movement it refers to people that move to another place for different reasons for example people move to do business after they finish their business they will return home people move to gain pleasure from the destination sightseeing and things like that. After they finish, they will return home. Pilgrimage, the people who travel to spread their religious belief or people who travel to seek for their religious belief, after they reach their goal, they return home. Commute people refer to the type of people that always spend their time traveling, like the pilot, the flight attendants, they travel for the business, for the work purposes. Eventually, they will return home. No intention to settle down at the destination. Now, for characteristic migration, usually types of migration or characteristic of migrations categorized by time and distance. Temporary migration, people who migrate to a destination and stay there temporarily, roughly 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, okay, or maximum 2 or 3 years to consider as temporary migration. Permanent migrations, they're staying at the destination forever, for a long period of time, okay, for years and years, for decades. Distance, two types of distance, domestic migration, international migration. Okay, domestic migrations, we have another word that we use, is called transmigration. I talked about this at the beginning of the slide, transmigration. You can use the term transmigration or domestic migration. We also have the international migration. Okay, international migration, people who travel abroad to different countries. Moving to the important part. Push and pull factors. I have list of push and pull factors that I like to, if you choose any migration question, I would like for you to mention push and pull factors. These are examples of push and pull factors. Push factors refer to difficulties that people experience while they are living in their own origin. Any difficulties, any burden that they experience while living in their own origin region. Like for example, they don't have access to job opportunity, less access to education, lower wages there, high competitions in getting job, less freedom of expression, less recognitions of rights. Okay, they've been mistreated by the people in the community, discriminations, natural disaster happen. These are things that make people feel uncomfortable. Push factors, think of something that make people feel uncomfortable living life in origin region. Pull factors, the attractions, something that's so wonderful, something that can make life changing for people, something that make people to have, allow people to have better standard of living and be happy about their life. Mostly the pull factors are things that destination countries offer, right? So If you talk about migration, please apply this idea, this concept into your answer. I will be very happy. Cause of migration, nothing much there. You can just skim it quickly. Two words here that you can apply. It's not a require, it's not a must, but just keywords that you can use to make your paper look more academia. Chain migration refer to the situation that a family send one member to work abroad, okay, or to work at the new destination. After a person is established and doing well at the destination, the person may invite other siblings or other family members to follow and move to another destination along. Like, for example, you send your brother to work in America. After he established there, bought a house, earn reasonable living, he may invite you to come and live with him. That chain migration, you follow your family members. Step migration refer to a situation that a person keep moving to another destination all the time. All the time, I use the word all the time. You keep moving from place to place all the time. But every destination that you choose will always be better than the previous one. That's step migration. Example, right now you are living in Salaya. You probably work for the university. That's the prestige job in Salaya. So after a while, you feel like, man, you know what? I can do better than this. I can work in better university. Maybe I should move to Chulalongkorn. So you move from Salaya to Bangkok, a bigger, a better city. All right. So you move to Bangkok. After you work for Chula for a while, you feel like, I could do better than being in Chula. So I'm going to move to Singapore, to NUS, the Singaporean University, one of the best university in Asia. So after a while, I feel like, man, Singapore's okay. You know, maybe I should challenge myself, do something else better. So I moved from Singapore to Japan, better school. Okay. After Japan, then I moved to America or I moved to England. Move often, but every time you move, you go to a better destination. That's step migration, right? Now, the main cause or main type of migration in the modern day is labor migration. That's the leading one in the modern day, the labor migration. People move to get better job opportunity, get better income. This is the main reason or the main type of migration. The second from labor migration is wars, conflicts, and terrorism. Wars, conflict, terrorism cause people to move to a new destination where it's safer. The third popular reason that people migrate is to labor, natural disaster. Top three types of migration. Labor, right? The second one, wars, conflicts, terrorism, and the third one, natural disaster. Now, we are going to look at how migration cause development of the city or the development of the area. Start off with the first one. Okay. Seasonal human migration. Seasonal human migration refer to types of migration that people migrate temporarily for job opportunities. It's the same as labor migration. People move to work at the destination temporarily, roughly or approximately 3 to 6 months. They usually move during the harvesting season. The main target country that they move on to is the developed country. The point is, the developed countries, they also practice agriculture. When it comes to the production, they use the machines for the production. They use automated water machine to water their plants. The machines that till the land, okay, the machine that plow the land or till the land, the machine that put the seed in the soil and things like that. Everything's done by the machine. But when it comes to harvesting the agricultural products, a lot of plants, a lot of crops require human hand picks. It cannot be done by the machine. So there's a demand for labor in agricultural sector in the developed countries during the harvesting season. Fruits like strawberry, oranges, grapes, peaches, they require hand pick. Most of the people who live in the developed country look down on agricultural jobs. They don't want to be farmers. They think that it's low pay, low status job. So there's a labor shortage in agricultural sector in the developed country. The owner of the farm have no choice but to contact the labor recruitment company, and to get the labor from the less developed countries. Like in Korea, every harvesting season, they would call on the agency, the recruitment agency in Thailand, to send some Thai laborers to go work in the farm over there, picking the vegetable and things like that. All right, so the Thai laborers will move to Korea, work there 3 months, 6 months based on the contract. Sometimes lasts a bit longer, right? That's one type of seasonal human migration. Another type of seasonal human migration is that we still have group of people that still raise domestic animals and they are not using technology. These people, they follow their animals. When the season change, they're gonna have to find a new place to accommodate their animals. Like for example, during the winter time, they will move their herd down to the tropical area so that the animal will be in a warmer place, will have access to food. Right? But in the summertime, they move up to the north so that the animal can be in a comfortable area, colder area, and have access to food. Okay. So 2 types here, guys. We move to work in agricultural sector in developed countries, or we move along to accommodate our animals that we raise. Moving on. Suburbanization. Okay. The development of suburbanization happened first time in America. Highlighted. It happened first time in America. There are several causes of the improvement of suburbanization. I'm going to make a list of those factors that cause suburbanization to emerge. Suburbanization means the development of the area outside of the city or the outskirts of the city. Good example of suburban area in Thailand is the area around Ratchaphuk, Saraya, Rangsit, Nonthaburi, the border between Nonthaburi and Bangkok, Pathum Thani, the border, the outskirts of the city. That area is called suburban area. Anyway, I will focus more on the case study in America. Since America was the first country that experienced the emergence of suburbanization. Anyway, back before 1950, a lot of farmers in America, as I mentioned, they lost a lot of land. They lost their land. They lost their job opportunity in the countryside. A lot of them move into the city to seek for better job opportunity, seek for better living. This caused high density of population in the city. The city become overpopulated. All right, city become overpopulated. The second thing that happened right around 1950 is that Black people, African American people, have gained their legal rights, gained more recognition, gained more equality with the white people. So a lot of them migrate from the countryside into the city. Same thing, they're looking for a better job opportunity. They thought that they no longer limit to the farming job anymore. They no longer limit or they no longer have to live in the countryside anymore. They can live and move to the city to seek for better life. A lot of them move into the city. Make the numbers of population increase even higher. The city became very populated, high density. As we all know, when a lot of people are living in the same area, a lot of bad things will happen. Crime rate increase, high competition in job opportunity. People have to compete to fight to get a job, long line for the job interview. Less resources that people can consume, less spaces. Everyone have to share little spaces in the city. So the standard of living for people who live in the city by 1950 was very low. It declined. It was pretty bad. Now, it is the government duty to take care of this problem that I just mentioned, the overpopulation, the lack of jobs, opportunity, the lack of resources. It's the government duty. Now, for the government to invest in improving the infrastructure in the city, turns out that it got so expensive. To build a road, the government have to come up with big amount of land to purchase the land and the building that exists. They're gonna have to torn down the buildings, pay for the building to be destroyed and things like that. It got so expensive. The government did the calculation and thought that it's not worth it investing in providing more infrastructure in the city. Nowhere to go, everything's packed. Imagine if you want to restructure infrastructure around Thong Lo, Ekamai, Sukhumvit line. You're gonna have to torn down the whole area. You're gonna have to pay compensation for those expensive luxury condo. And of course, the government don't have that kind of money to do so. The only way out to provide people with better living is to encourage people to move to the outskirts of the city. All right. That technique, like I said, is called transmigration technique. They encourage people to move to the suburb, okay, to the outskirts of the city. Government found that it's a lot cheaper to provide better infrastructure outside of the city. The land still empty. Easy to put something new, to have, to put a new system into the development because the land still empty. You can organize things better. Plus, cost of land still cheap, very affordable for the government to spend the money, right? So the government provide all infrastructures in the suburb area. When people see better infrastructure, they migrate from the city to the suburb area. So the development of the suburb caused migration from people who live in the city to the suburb. It's a transmigration. Okay. Now, the people who live in the city, they already have difficult life and at the same time, the white people in America, they felt uncomfortable living among black people, even though the black people have gained their rights, their legal protection. But people mentality back then were not ready to accept the white as equal. They were not ready. They still have negative attitudes towards the black people. So they seek for the way to get out of the city, to be apart from black people. Okay? There's a big demand to move out. The real estate company learned this demand. They knew that a lot of white middle class people are willing to move out if there's a spot for them. So the real estate company purchased the land outside of the city, built homes, and sell it to the white people. The real estate company, they made a lot of money. They built thousands of homes, offer people at affordable price, low price of homes, okay, and variety types of company, variety types of houses, attract the middle class white people to move into the suburb area. Okay, so what I'm saying is that the attractiveness of those affordable houses also cause migration. It attracts the people to move out and own a beautiful home outside of the city. The next things that make migration happen is the new invention of affordable cars by Ford company and GM company. What happened was that before 1950, Ford company, GM company, they only produced luxury cars and they sold to the rich people in the country. Turns out that during the war, these rich people, they lost big fortune, they lost money. No longer interested in luxury cars, so Ford and GM received low sales. They almost went bankrupt in the sale cars. And then they realized that the majority of the people in America were the middle class, were the lower class people. Why don't we produce something that these people could afford? So they produced affordable cars that anyone can afford. When the white middle class people saw these kind of affordable cars, they thought to themselves that we no longer have to live in the city and be closer to our workplace anymore. We can live in the suburb. The cost of the house is affordable, and at the same time, the cost of the car is affordable. We can drive our own car to the city for work. Okay. In the past, people used to think that the closer to work, the better. That's why they try to get the apartment and try to stay closer to their workplace because they didn't have car. But now they can own their own car. They can live anywhere. And this caused numbers of white middle class people to move to the suburb. They own the car, they drive to the city themselves. Another thing that caused migration to the suburb to happen is that taxation in the suburb area is cheaper than taxation in the city. All right. The point is, the amount of tax will be high or low depends on the numbers of population. I'm going to give you real example. I own a condominium by Bangkok, and I spend about 200 baht per year to own that property. 200 baht per year. It's not a big deal, but 200 baht per year to own that a size of this room. I pay 200 baht for tax. I also own a few acres of land in Kanchanaburi. A few acres of land, bigger pieces of land. But I spend only 50 baht for the property tax. Because over there in Kanchanaburi, they have fewer numbers of population. So people thought to themselves that if they continue to live in the city and own the property, they're going to have to pay more taxes. All right. But if they own the, reasonable size of buildings, own the land, living outside of the city, they pay less tax. It's safer for them in the long run. Okay, this is one of the attraction. This is one of the things that attract people to move to the suburb area. Also, the area where there are a lot of population. The taxes for common products or taxes for services usually high. In Bangkok, 7% is added into all the services and products, plus the service charge. So things are more expensive here in Bangkok. But if you are living in the countryside of Thailand, you don't have to pay for all these taxes. No 7% taxes. And then you don't have to pay for service charge as well. All right. So things are cheaper outside. That's why people prefer to move out. That's all. I am moving on to the urbanization. Different word แล้วนะคะ The urbanization means the growth rate of the city. We talked about urbanization before. Okay. The first country that developed the urbanization is England, because England was the first country that dealt with, or the first country that started industrial revolution. So with the urbanization in general, it means a better organization of the city, better organization of the city, more advanced building occur, more technologies are implemented in everyday living. Okay. So the advancement of the city itself is what attracts people to move into. Take an example of Bangkok as an urban city. We have better school, more quality school provided in Bangkok. A lot of us move from the countryside, from different provinces around Thailand to come to good school in Bangkok. So education is one attractiveness that Bangkok have. Medical, the availability of medication as well. We have good hospitals. People want to be closer to the good hospital so that they can get treatment quickly. What else? Good shopping mall, fancy lifestyle. These are things that attract people to move into the city. More job opportunity, because most of the company, both domestic company and international companies, are located in the city. This causes migration. Moving on to the international migration. International migration break down into more several types here, listed here. Temporary migration, labor migration. As I gave you an example before, seasonal human migration is also part of temporary migration. People move and stay at the destination temporarily. After they finish that contract, after the contract ended, they will return home. Moving on to illegal or undocumented migrants. Refer to people who sneak into a destination country without having any permit or any proof of document of who they are. They don't have any identification or anything like that, no document at all. Sneak into the destination country by using natural border, swimming across the border or walking in through the jungle to get to another destination, right? Illegal people are invisible. They are not being notified. They are invisible in the destination country, but they cause more damage to the destination country than the positive or the advantages. I'm going to make list of the advantages that they could bring to the destination country. Okay. They help the business sector. This is a good thing about illegal immigrants. They help the business sector to reduce the cost of production or the cost of investment. For example, if you own a noodle shop and the illegal immigrants come to you and ask for jobs, they don't have documents. They are illegal. If you report that there's such person that comes to see you, that person will probably be in jail and be pushed out of our country. The illegal people, they know themselves that they are vulnerable. They don't have much say. They don't have bargaining power. So if they come to you and they say, can I please have a job? You as the noodle shop lady, you will say, okay, the minimum wage is 300 baht in Thailand, but since you don't have any document, it is quite risky for me to hire you. I may get caught by the police. I may be in jail. I may be in trouble. So I'm going to pay you only 200 baht. If you accept this condition, then vote for me. If you don't, then move on. Most of the illegal people, they don't have a choice but to take low pay. Good in a way that the owner of the business can reduce the cost of their investment or the cost of their production. Another good thing about having these illegal people is that they work hard. They can contribute to the increase in productivity in our country. Okay, we can produce more. And it means that our economy can maybe improve because of this increase of productivity. But the bad thing that these people bring to our country, first, they destroy the wage system. Second, they make it difficult for the native people or for the citizen of the country to get job opportunity. As a business person, you want to save your cost of production. You want to make more profit. If you hire your own citizen, you have to pay them according to the law, minimum wage. The cost of your productions increase, the cost of your investment increase. So when these illegal come to you, you prefer to hire them. So they fill in the job, but the rest of the citizens, they no longer have a job opportunity. All right, their standard of living decline, they will become unemployed and cause more trouble to the government. I have mentioned this before. And sometimes the illegal people, they knew themselves that they are not visible. A lot of them commit crime to make living in the destination country. Sometimes they sell drugs, they do illegal things. They're already illegal. Just to add more illegal activities, it wouldn't make any better. I mean, it wouldn't make any change. So when we have more of these illegal people, our crime rate increase. All right. High-skilled and business migrants refer to those investors, those trained workers. Okay? When they feel that they have good skill, they are trained, but if they are living in their own country, they're not making much money. They might want to move to another country. For example, I have a few friends who are nurses. They thought that they work in the hospital in Thailand and they receive very small pay and they work very, very hard. They get about 200 baht per hour, but the amount of energy, the amount of effort that they put, it's just, it's not worth the money, right? So a lot of them prefer to move to Germany. Being a nurse, but living in Germany, they make, up to $1,000. Let's use the dollar. $1,000 per day. That means around 39,000 baht per day. But performing the same job, living in Thailand, they get probably about a few thousand baht. That's a big difference right there. So the skilled people, they prefer to search for our countries and offer them with higher wages. Refugee asylum seekers, I mentioned this last class. Refugees and asylum seekers are the people who are being forced to migrate. They're gonna have refugee status or asylum seeker status or not depends on the destination country. If they look at your profile, they see that you are a quality person, you have some skill, you have potential that you can help the country develop. They may give you with asylum seeker status. But if you are not trained, if you don't have any education, you probably be called as refugee. They may help you out, but eventually, after everything is settled in your country, they push you back. So forced migrations, 3 types of forced migration. We're going to look at it in later slide. Okay. Sometimes we move because our families tempt us to move or invite us to move. Return migrants, people who cannot make it well at the destination. People who gave up their life at the destination and return home. Not every one of us will become successful at the new destination. Some of us did not make it, so they might return home. Some people move to a new destination and stay there for a very long period of time. They return home once they retire. Low-skilled migrants, they're looking for agricultural jobs in the developed countries. The rest, just skim it. Now, highlight this one. This is a good piece of information. It can be used as one example. It's not a require for you to put it in, but it's a good piece of example that you can maybe use if you like. Depends on how you want to answer the question. The key word here is the romantic nationalism and the great European industrial empire. Two things together. The first point here. What happened was that two things happened at the same time, caused big movement of labor migration. Two things, two incidents happened at the same time, caused great labor migration. The first thing that happened is that Russia decided to purify its own country, watch out the whole country, and wanted for the country to consist only pure Russian. In fact, Russia is a very big country. It includes people from different ethnicity. Okay, the main one is the Jewish. They were living among the Russians, and the Russians did not like them, just like the Hitler did not like the Jewish. The Jewish, they have very unique characters, unique skills. They're very good in business, the best in business, very smart, okay, very good in business, very genius in business, I would say that. Anyway, once again, two things happened. Russia wanted to, upgrade their country, purify their country, only want their country to consist with only Russia. This is a part of the romantic nationalism with ethnocentrism. It means bias, they're being biased towards their own people. Okay, they only care for their own ethnicity, their own people, and dislike the others. Right? This is more like a discrimination that happened in Russia. Another thing that happened in Europe and in America, both regions, they wanted to take control over the world economy. They wanted to be a superpower country. In order to do that, they're going to have to expand their economy. To expand their economy, that means they're going to produce more, produce fast. To produce more, to produce fast, they need more labor. There's a big demand for labor. This big demand for labor caused labor migration. Now, for Russia, like I said, they wanted to drive away the Jewish from their country. But they did not want to fall into the same situation or same thing like what Hitler did to the Jewish. We all know that Hitler genocide, create all kinds of genocide against those Jewish. It's very brutal. Russian government did not want to do that. So they came up with indirect oppression against the Jewish. They came up with all kinds of policies to make it difficult for the Jews to live life in Russia. For example, they prohibit the Jewish kids to enter good public school in Russia. The Jewish kids can only attend small school, and those small schools they have low quality of education. It means that the Jewish kids will not be trained, will not have proper education, and in the future they might not be able to get good job. They will have to remain being a lower class. It's indirect oppression to the Jewish, right? The next policy, the government encourage the company, the business sector to only give promotion to the Russian, but not to the Jewish. Make sure that the Jewish remain in low status at workplace. Make sure that they keep quiet, not taking much of action. By having to stay in low status at workplace, the Jewish did not make enough money to sustain themselves. Difficult life for them, less pay for them, less wages for them. The government, the next policy, they make it difficult for the Jewish to run the business or to own their own business. Okay? So all these oppression make it, like I said, very difficult for Jews to develop themselves and become successful in life. A lot of the Jewish gave up living in Russia. They moved to America. They moved to European countries, where those countries open arms for these Jewish to come in and work for them. All right, so two things happen: caused great labor migration. Almost, Jew in Russia moved to Europe and to America for job opportunity. Imagine if those America and European countries did not have a desire to expand their economy. Where would these Jewish go? No place to go. Right? So the labor migration would not happen. It happened because two things happened at the same time. Last one จริงๆไม่ไหวละไม่ใช่หัวจะปวดแต่ปวดหัวแล้วเนี่ย melting pot and salad bowl. There will be one question for you to explain characteristic of melting pot and salad bowl and analyze เดี๋ยวจดให้เดี๋ยวจะไปเขียนให้นะ I'm going to put it in the question list. Talk about what is salad bowl, what is melting pot, and also I will ask you to analyze if Thai culture is salad bowl or melting pot. Add a lot of example. With this kind of question, you only need to find more example to prove that it is salad bowl, อาจารย์ It is melting pot. There's no right and wrong answer นะคะ Some of you may take melting pot. Some of you may take salad bowl. You can only prove by using evidence. Use your everyday life evidence. You don't have to do research. Just have to think of things around you in everyday life. Melting pot refer to a type of situation where culture with S, cultures are mixed and match and blend with one another, end up having a new culture. Several cultures meet, match, blend with one another, ended up that they have a new culture. If we compare this to food, I would say melting the cheese dip can simplify this situation. Cheese dip. If you go to a Mexican restaurant and order cheese dip with nacho, cheese dip with nacho. Within the cheese dip, it has mozzarella cheese in it, American cheese, cheddar cheese, brie cheese in it, maybe blue cheese in it too. Mix it all together in a pot, stir it. All the cheese will melt, blend it, and collide with one another. You can hardly distinguish which cheese is which anymore once the cheese dip is done. Once it's finished, once it's all melted, you can hardly notify this is brie, this is cheddar cheese, this is American cheese, this is mozzarella. You can no longer distinguish that. Everything collide together. The colors change, the texture change. It may become softer. The smell is different now. All smells mix together. Texture change, color change. That's a new culture right there. Right? So think if Thailand is a melting pot country, or if it's a salad bowl. With the salad bowl, it refers to the situation that cultures are met but not mix and match with one another, because each culture is very strong. They have their own gimmick, they have their own standing point. They are not incorporated with one another. They're so much different from one another. Okay? They can be contradictory to one another. They can be opposite to one another. They can be opposite to one another. They can be contradictory to one another. And each one of them, like I said, they're strong in their own way. But if we look at melting pot, it refers to a situation that all cultures are weak. All weak cultures meet one another. They don't have any gimmick, no standing point, so they blend with one another easily. Salad bowl, like I said, if we compare this situation to food, it would be like a salad. With the salad, you put all kinds of vegetable and ingredients and dressing into the bowl. You mix it, you stir it, but you can still distinguish what is what. You can see the lettuce, you can see the cheese, you can see tomato, you can see avocado, you can even see and taste the dressing, right? Now, when I said cultures can be contradictory and stay with one another, just like salad. When you put dry tomato in the salad, the taste is sweet, but when you put the lettuce, it can be bitter, a bit bitter. So the bitter and the sweet come together, all right? They can be contradictory, they can be opposite to one another, but they can be all together at once. Okay. Think if Thai culture is a salad bowl or not. Can you notify certain practice that we have in Thailand? Like for example, right now, in the vegetarian festival, in is now part of Thai people. We are Thai, but we practice this tradition. It's more like a Chinese sort of tradition. ตุ๊ดจีนอย่างเงี้ย we can notify that it's Chinese. The name of it already shows that it's Chinese. So Thai culture, is it a salad bowl or melting pot? นั่นแหละค่ะพอก่อนวันนี้ Next Wednesday